Welcome, everyone. I'm Lisa Gilbert, co-president of Public Citizen. I'm excited to welcome everyone back live with another installment of Informed Resistance, which is Public Citizen's new substack, where we are unpacking the affronts of the Trump administration, sharing details of the lawlessness we're all witnessing and experiencing, and discussing how we can fight back. Today, I'm so excited to be speaking with Loren Blackford, Executive Director of Sierra Club, about how the club is working to hold polluters accountable and fighting back against their co-conspirators in government. Loren, thank you so much for joining our new Substack today.
Thrilled to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's get into it. At Public Citizen, we work closely with Sierra Club on a ton of issues. Clean energy, regulatory policy, worker safety is connected to environmental hazards, and on and on. So I wanted to start with kind of a broad question, the broadest possible question to set the scene. I just wanted to get your take on the state of the union under the Trump administration when it comes to the environment. Want to hear about your thoughts about the corrupt dealings with polluters and what we're all experiencing.
Yeah, absolutely. These are definitely very tough times in a lot of ways, and you know that our listeners all know that. We just see so many things being rolled back. We're so much on the defense, whether it's the attacks on the IRA, on clean energy investments, whether it's attacks on endangered species, the endangerment finding, where they're rolling back the ability for the Environmental Protection Agency to control greenhouse gases. So many different fronts. It's definitely a tricky time to be an environmentalist. It's a tricky time to be an American because it obviously goes beyond just the specific environmental work to just attacks on the fundamentals of democracy that allow us to do the environmental work, whether it's voter rights, whether it's free speech, whether it's pushing back on litigation. So we're very much on defense, but I think it's really important to have groups like ours and like Public Citizen, where we have a lot of activists that are really ready to push back. And what I would say is, as hard as this moment is on so many fronts, we're seeing an incredible movement. You guys are part of that. Our nearly 3.5 million members and supporters are part of that. And what we're seeing is people like really just fed up and wanting to take action. So that part is heartening. I think it's important for us all to remember, like, we're not the resistance. We are the river. We're the power. We're the movement. And I think we're seeing people connecting with that. So I look forward to talking about that more with you.
Yes. Well, I love that analogy. And yes, we are the bulk of Americans who are standing together saying this is not the way things should be. So I appreciate that. And I think you said something really important about, we're in the fight. It can be a distressing time to be an American, but we've all been standing up together. And I think as a part of that, we're standing up together and we're rowing towards something. We want to keep the river analogy going. We are heading towards, a set of policies and prescriptions and things that we hope to achieve the next time, we have a governing moment when we are able to swing the pendulum back from Trump. One example of that, we've been working with you all, as well as other consumer and environmental groups, calling for a windfall profits tax on oil and gas companies. So I wanted to ask you about that work, maybe describe it for our listeners who would benefit from that tax, but then also ask you how you think a proposal like this, is playing in the midterms or will play with politicians and as we lead up to that governing moment to 2029, we hope so. Do you think this is the kind of thing that could catch attention and political will?
I do. I think people are really feeling the pain across the political spectrum. Utility bills are out of control. They're unpredictable. People are seeing that there are incredible profits going to the fossil fuel companies. And you have like the craziness of Trump's war in Iran, which we joked about we should give Trump an award for that one because he's driving renewable energy and electric vehicles worldwide and in new ways. But seriously, it is hurting people. It's hurting people in the pocketbooks. It's hurting health. And so people, it's just like the pain is real. The pain is real for everyone. I was just in a conservative district in Southern Virginia and talking to like somebody just walking down the street who was like ranting about utility prices. And, it was like our talking point. So it's interesting how that the connection is happening broadly. And so the windfall profit tax credits are really something to like smooth it out. It's not allowing the fossil fuel companies to have incredible benefits from what's going on, from the wars, from the price hikes. That's something that should go back to families, to people who are struggling to pay their bills. And I think we're at a point that will really resonate for folks. So I think it'll be good talking points in the midterms.
Yes. Well, it does seem like a proposal that will both, level the playing field in some ways. People and entities that have been taking advantage of, tax breaks for years, paying their fair share, seems like the least they can do while they are polluting our environment and hurting regular people at the same time. So I hope so. I think it's a populist proposal. It's something that should resonate from a lot of different directions. And I really am heartened by the story of, a conservative district and people all saying the same thing about the prices and the affordability and how it's impacting them. So, the Trump administration has obviously done a host of bad things when it comes to renewable energy. And, one of them is this sort of de facto moratorium on new wind projects in order to try to, favor fossil fuels. And so I was hoping you could share a little bit about that with our listeners, sort of the how and the why, and then what Sierra Club is doing to fight back.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it started with they thought they could just sort of, with the stroke of a pen, say they would stop these projects. And we're talking about wind projects that were like 80% done and they were paid for. And so local ratepayers had already paid for this incredible new source of clean, safe, reliable energy. And then the Trump administration said, no, we're just going to stop these projects. We took it to the courts, others took it to the courts, and had a lot of success there. And so there was, it was great, we're back on. And so then they found other ways to try and stop those projects. And so they started paying off the companies to not continue the projects and instead return to using fossil fuels. And so they're using ratepayers, or they're making it so ratepayers are going to have to pay again for infrastructure that's almost completed, but they're also using taxpayer dollars to pay billions of dollars to companies to build out fossil fuels instead of offshore wind. So it's a travesty, and what we're seeing that's really encouraging is some real pushback in states across the country, East Coast and West Coast. We're seeing California, Rhode Island, Connecticut, New York, and we're looking into like what is happening with these deals. These are kind of secretive deals. And so like our environmental law program is doing Freedom of Information Act requests to find out more about what's happening. But I think increasingly people are pushing back because it's not only about the money, it's also about the jobs. Like this is an area where we have good union jobs, building the parts that go into these wind projects. And so this is something that hurts people in the pocketbook. It hurts people's earning ability. And it also hurts reliability. And we're seeing that particularly with the increasing heat waves, like these things all go together. And so in July, when we saw as we were recognizing the 250th anniversary of this country, we saw it in the Northeast and across the country, the smoke, but also heat waves. And where I was in Long Island, it was offshore wind that really sort of helped keep the power reliable. And so those are the projects that they're doing everything they can to kill. And I think people are recognizing that that's the wrong path.
Yes. Um, it's just such a clear example of being willing to hurt local economies and the country as a whole to benefit a singular, corporate special interest that has contributed more funding to an administration or is seen as more aligned with their policies. It is such a painful reminder of where their priorities are in reality, and I think the sort of impacts on communities can't be overstated. I really appreciate the way you were framing it up, and it reminds me of the fight that is so live right now around data centers. When once again there's communities pushing back on things that they just know are not good, neither for jobs or the environment in their own local spaces, and being drowned out by a behemoth that has a lot of money. In this case, AI.
Yeah.
Um, is Sierra Club involved in the data center fight? I assume yes, which is why I bring it up.
Absolutely, absolutely. And
Love to hear more about what you
and
all
in fact, we're
are doing.
collaborating.
Yeah,
I just got a fundraising
indeed.
email from you and Rob that mentioned
Yes.
one of our collaborations.
Yeah.
Um, in um, well, yeah, one of the main places. It's great to be working with you guys. Like
Yep.
that project. There are two data centers in Texas. They are violating state and federal law. They are gas-fired power plants. And they're going to have 151 diesel backup generators. Like, it is crazy. Nobody wants that in their backyard. And again, like, this is something like we're seeing an incredibly powerful movement now, again, across political lines. Um, Everybody is concerned about these, particularly ones like that are running off of gas, that are running with diesel generators that are just have incredibly toxic in the communities that they're in. And so, yeah, we're involved very much in working with states to be putting in place guidelines that protect people, that have transparency, so communities can weigh in, they can know what's happening, they can know, what is the impact going to be on their water, on their air, on their energy prices. And so, we're working the whole spectrum. Again, like we have chapters in every state. We're working in every state house. So we're certainly working on the federal level. And then we're working with these state houses to make sure that communities are engaged and protected. And in the places that these things do get built, that they're using renewable energy and they're using it in a way where the the utility rates, the prices aren't going to hit consumers, particularly when we discover down the road that this has all been overbuilt and that there's, that if there's a bubble, that we don't have residential ratepayers left holding the bag.
That's right. That's right. Well, certainly one of the many things that people have become alarmed with when they think about AI, the risks that to our privacy, the just infusion into so many places of employment and the impacts on our jobs. And then the latest affront is this: that now we are damaging our local environments and hurting people in communities, all of service to this entity that many people don't trust and don't want. So it's a vicious issue right now, and I think we were talking earlier about the congressional races and the track to 2029, and I think this topic is heating up as something that people really are paying attention to, and being on the right side of this is going to matter a lot for
Yeah.
candidates.
Yeah.
Um,
And it's important to remember, like, the
so
companies behind this, big tech companies, they have a huge amount of power, and they could be using that to really drive, again, if data centers are built, that they're built with renewable energy. So there are choices to be made. Local governments can help shape those. But we also need to keep holding the companies themselves accountable. And that's where, groups like Public Citizen, but also Sierra Club are, engaging with the companies themselves as well.
Yep, that's right. And the infusion of tech money into politics is obscene right now. And it's influencing, on both sides of the aisle. And so, we need to be holding this issue up as an example of oligarchy in a moment where we have a corrupt administration and the interplay between these big companies and the choices that are being made at the federal level and the state level. So just I've really appreciated working with you all on this and the sort of different strengths we're bringing to the fight. And just obviously it's going to be an ongoing one, but it is one that people are paying attention to. So I have some hope that will help us navigate it and get some wins on board.
Yeah, absolutely.
Um, so I, yeah. Well, so I wanted to shift us. Obviously, there are tons of hard fought, long fought regulations that are under attack by this administration. Right now, House Republicans are threatening DOL's worker safeguards, which are intended to protect workers from extreme heat. It's been a top priority for us at Public Citizen. Also, I know for you all as well. We put out a report showing that exposure could be behind up to 2,000 worker fatalities each year in the United States. Thousands of workers are injured in these heat-related incidents every year. So I wanted to hear a little bit from you about how you all are engaging in this and what the state of play is and why the fight is just so vital from your perspective.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, so Biden back in July of 2024, which was like a record hot month, um, put in measures to take care of workers because we know that of all we hear a lot about storms and winter, but we know that all of the climate related deaths, like heat is actually the worst. In many ways, and so there were measures put in place to help protect workers. And the Trump administration has revoked those. And so here we are, we've just gotten through July of 2026, which was the worst, other than that, other than that other July has been the worst yet. And we see that being revoked. And so this is a time where, you even see the FIFA soccer games, they're starting to enforce breaks. And so we're seeing just heat just taking incredible toll, and the Trump administration really trying to roll back those protections. And like you said, it's just not caring about human lives, not caring about workers, not caring about all of us. So we're working to try and get some of that like put back in place, bring back some of what had been enacted before, and just a lot of this, it's not the way we engage. Of course, there's the litigation, there's the legislative work. But an important part of it is the public opinion. It's to revoke the social license for the Trump administration and others that are like-minded to take these actions and to disregard our very lives. And that's the fundamental piece of it. And it's one where the corruption is just so blatant. They're saying the quiet part out loud. I mean, Trump came right out and said to fossil fuel companies, I want billions for my election campaigns, and then I'm going to give you what you want, pretty much. And we see it. We see the Environmental Protection Agency it's not protecting the environment. And so all of these steps, whether it's rolling back these protections that were put in place to take care of all of us in the dangerous heat circumstances, whether it's rolling back the endangerment finding, which like Sierra Club helped put that in place. Like we did the initial legislation in Massachusetts, and that's something that allows the Environmental Protection Agency to limit greenhouse gases. And they've taken that as well, like the heat protections, where they say, you know what, we're not going to take into account in the calculations the impact on human health. Instead, we're only going to look at what is the potential cost to companies to abide by these rules. And so they're valuing our lives at zero, and they're only looking at the impact of companies. And it's, we have to start believing Trump when he says these crazy things because it's what he said he would do. He said what he wanted to be paid for it. And that's exactly what's happening. And so I think groups like ours that are really coming at this in all of these different levels, that we're working at the federal level, that we're working in states, that we're doing the litigation, but most importantly, that we're working with the community, with the broader community, and allowing people to see what is really happening, and find ways that they can take action. There's so many ways for people to get involved.
Yes. Well, I appreciate that. And I think you're right to describe the attack on this particular worker health and safety heat stress rule as kind of endemic of what we've seen across the board of the ways they told us they would roll back our protections and that they are, in fact, doing so with complete disregard for people's lives and health and well-being. Um, well, Loren, I mean, we could talk forever. We've covered so much in a short period of time: data centers and workers and wind and taxation and corruption. It's, there's endless, unfortunately, things to discuss. But I'm gonna close us here and just invite you to come again.
I'd
And I
love
want
to.
to thank you so much for joining us here today. Could you tell people quickly where they can follow you and the Sierra Club, where they can find you?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, you could start with our website, go to sierraclub.com. You can find me there, have blog posts, but mostly, you know, Sierra Club is a we not me organization. So we are all about the many activists in every part of this country that are doing the work in their communities, and then about how that adds up to be able to affect outcomes, affect elections, and then hold decision makers accountable. Um, so yeah, come to our website, and there are so many ways to get engaged, and we would really love to have you. And we'd love to keep working with Public Citizen.
Absolutely. Well, I can promise you that. So, for folks watching, I want to encourage you to subscribe to our Substack if you are not yet and you found us today for the first time. It is Informed Resistance. We are going to be updating you every week on what this lawless administration is up to, inviting amazing guests like Sierra Club here to talk to us about the work they are doing as well, and together discussing how we are going to keep challenging the Trump administration. So thank you all so much. And until next time, see you soon.
Thank you.